You said last year you spent over $70,000 trying to get to the bottom of this. Do you know what your total is at now?
It's well over 130. I mean, I have more bills. We were driving here and like I'm getting text bills. So I'm just like paying the minimum on everything. My credit cards, like I've exhausted my savings. I don't know what, I do know what I'm gonna do now, but thank God this woman reached out to me and she's like an angel. I don't know why, I'm like, where are my angels?
Tell me about this angel. Who's your angel?
My angel is the PBM princess. Her name's Rachel Strauss. And she advocates for people who have tons of medical bills that end up bankrupting them. And they're so overwhelmed and sick that they don't know what to do, so that they just make the payment plans.
People don't understand that insurance does not mean everything is paid for, much like with a car. When you get in an accident, because you have auto insurance doesn't mean that the car is going to be paid for. And so I think with this, it's understanding, shopping around, right? I think the Americans need to understand if there's an emergency, you roof, you have to get in an ambulance, you do what you have to do. You don't worry about the bills. That's later. And that's why people like me exist to help, with that process. But I think that for planned surgeries, or when you have to have something done, right? You hurt your arm and then you're told you need shoulder surgery. I think Americans look at healthcare as a purchaser. I think they look at it as the doctor said to do this, so I'm going to do it. And I think healthcare, even within the provider side, there are so much competition. That's why they advertise. That's why you see billboards. And people need to understand that, they have to look to see where the best cost for that service is, especially for routine or scheduling, x-rays, mammograms, anything that you need and schedule. She had insurance. And so that's the key here, is that she was on an individual HMO plan that had levels of coverage. She did have out of pocket, and that is one piece of the pie. Where Brandi's unfortunate situation is in so many bills that came that are not being covered at all through Kaiser. And so in a Medicaid situation, Medicaid's not meant to supplement necessarily an insurance policy. But if somebody can't afford the catastrophic coverage, the $100,000 of bills, that is what Medicaid is supposed to do. But again, like anything, there is some gatekeeping, and you have to understand the rules in order to get the maximum benefit of these policies. So what most people don't realize is that there's people out there like myself that are pretty familiar with navigating the hospitals and the billing centers. And where this is frustrating for average Americans, and including myself, where I've had to advocate on behalf of myself, I've learned, number one, where we need to go, how to file, what claims truly should be billed back with Kaiser, and were not coded correctly, so that we can start to recoup some of her money back. I don't know that we're going to be able to wipe $100,000 away, but what we are going to be able to do is make sure that the proper parties who have to pay for those claims pay for them, and that would be Kaiser. And where it does fall on her responsibility is working with the hospitals she saw, reviewing, what was billed, making sure it was billed properly, because certain things were truly emergencies that doctors will validate. And getting, those reduced however we can. And finally, once we negotiate, the service fees, working on a payment plan so that Brandi can live and, have a roof over her head and be able to have food and everything that you need to sustain. But understanding that there will be, there was always a portion of out of pocket that was on her plan design, making sure there's a way that she can pay that back comfortably.